I was at a party, a New Year's party, and somebody said, so you're a journalist, aren't you? And I said, well, I used to be. And she said, well, I've got a really good story for you. And it turned out to be the story of Philomena and her lost son. Such a fantastic story, you know, I just couldn't not write it. It was about love and loss and separation and yearning, and ultimately about redemption. And those are things that, you know, we're all interested in, we all feel for. And it's about two really strong characters, Steve Coogan and Judi Dench, fantastic leads. And it's about how they learn from each other, because they're both coming from very different places, but they both bring something to the other person. They both learn from each other. And it's that sort of relationship that develops through the movie, which I found really sort of gripping. I felt I needed to write the story, first of all, for Philomena. It was a human story. It was a mother looking for her son. So that was my first duty, my first responsibility. It was a detective story because we knew the bare bones of what had happened to Anthony. We knew he'd been adopted in America, and it was really to put flesh on those bones, to find out, you know, what he'd become, what he'd done in life, what sort of person he was. But it was more than that. Philomena wanted to know if her son had actually thought about her, had had some emotions for his mother, had wanted to find out about his mother. She obviously wanted to find out about him, but she also wanted to know if that love was reciprocated by her son in America. If you watch the movie, you'll see the relationship between the Martin character and the Philomena character. It wasn't all one way. It wasn't all Martin doing something for Philomena. Martin was learning from Philomena as well. And I think what the film does really well is to portray that relationship. You know, it's Martin helps Philomena find out what happened to her son. He helps Philomena find some closure in her life. But Philomena also teaches Martin. Martin starts out as this rather cynical, world-weary journalist. And what he learns from Philomena is that you actually have to live your life according to much more human values. You have to, you know, be open. You have to sort of, not everything has to be intellectualized. And I think that comes out really well in the movie. The relationship between Judi Dench and Steve Coogan is fantastically well drawn. And I think, you know, that reflects a little bit what happened in real life. Could you get anybody better than Judi Dench? I mean, the greatest living actor. And to have her playing a character in my book was so amazing and so overwhelming. I'm sure for Philomena as well, the real life Philomena, that must be absolutely fantastic. And she's so great, you know, she makes the movie. She and Steve together, that symbiosis, the two of them. And you see them in real life, and the two of them sort of bounce off each other. And they've had this really good sort of relationship in the wings, you know, off the set. And you can see it on screen as well. It really works so well between the two of them. I was absolutely delighted when I heard that Steve Coogan wanted to make the movie. We'd had one or two offers, you know, from different people for the film rights of the book. And, you know, we had to weigh up who we wanted to go with. And the real deciding factor was we knew that Steve was personally committed to this story. We knew he had an Irish background himself. We knew he had strong views about the themes in the book. And it was because of that that we felt, yeah, he's absolutely the right person to make it. And it's proved to be the case. I've been a fan of Stephen Frears since My Beautiful Laundrette. That was such a sort of epoch-making movie. And everything he's made since then has had that stamp of sort of intellectual depth and that sort of depth of thought to it, but the emotion as well. So he was clearly absolutely the right director for this movie. And hearing that he was going to direct it was almost as heartwarming and fantastic as hearing that Judi Dench was going to be the female lead in it. So yeah, absolutely, and it's proved to be the case. You know, watching him work is such a great experience. You know, he has the way he gets the best out of the actors, and you know, he knows what he wants, and he's not afraid to keep shooting and shooting till he gets it right. I've done loads of things in my life. I've worked for the government, I've worked for the BBC, I've been a historian, And this was something new. It was a human interest story, and it was such a grabbing story. You know, it was something that I knew I wanted to write right from the beginning. And Philomena herself is such a fantastic character that I got on so well with her that I knew I wanted to find out. I knew I wanted to help her, you know, find out what had happened to her son, but it was more than that. It was, you know, I warmed to her straight away. We got on really well together, and the more we worked together, the more I felt, yes, this is really worthwhile doing this story. So it wasn't, you know, specifically to write a book. It was actually to, you know, be part of this story as it developed. Philomena was in two minds about, you know, writing the book. She'd had 50 years of living with this constant propaganda from the Catholic Church that she'd done something really wrong by having a child out of wedlock, and that if she spoke about it, then, you know, she was going to burn in hell. And Philomena didn't want to do that. And it was only through this sort of process of discovering what had happened to her son and hearing from so many other people that this had happened to in Ireland in the 1950s and 60s that I think she felt happy with actually writing the book. And the reaction to the book has been fantastic, because so many people came forward and said, you know, because of your bravery, Philomena, because you were so courageous in publicising your story, we also feel now we can talk about what happened to us. And it's mothers who lost their children, it's children who were separated from their mothers. And like Philomena and Anthony, you know, many of them have been looking for each other, and many of them haven't found each other. And because Philomena articulated this, a lot of people felt they were able to do so as well.